perhaps not the most beautifully I've ever framed anything because my tripod is over at the office. I gotta go pick it up. But I'm back. 37 days in Canada. It was maybe the most important trip I've ever taken in my entire life, and where you hope to have a great time and meaningful connections with people. It was that to infinity and beyond. It was incredible. I cannot believe the quality of interactions. I got to meet all my brother's kids. They're all little super beings. I know this. I've taught tons of kids, so I know where they exist, and their kids were brilliant. It was a parade of all of these like highly functional, deeply connected relationships, and in many ways just a great role model for me. A lot of the people that I saw there, where I was like, oh, your lives are kind of beautiful and organized and have this incredible flow to them. Perhaps worth emulating. But now I'm back, and I've returned in tow with, I think it's around something like 700 gigabytes of that's both photography and video. And this is me going on a massive tour of BC. You're going to get to see so many parts of it. There's tons of filming I did in Vancouver. There was tons of filming I did when I was in, not so much Kelowna, but tons of filming that I did when I was on Vancouver Island as well. And it's gorgeous. These places are gorgeous. I've been away for so long. You can, as much as I'm like, I recall, you don't. You really don't. I was reminded and struck again with just how beautiful Vancouver Island is. If you've never been there and you're curious for like some kind of Canadian vacation, maybe you're thinking Vancouver, you should get over to Vancouver Island. There's tons of places that you can go onto it, and it's this very primal West Coast rainforest. It's so beautiful. And where I hadn't returned in over 10 years during fall, because I would always return during the summer, I got to go back during fall, and it was, again, this season that I hadn't seen in so many years. It's so beautiful there. And what was the additional detail with that? Final one, before I talk about what's going to happen now on the channel. And also in regards to my recounting this, what was it? What was I going to say? It was in regards to something. Oh yeah, the weather. I can edit that little chunk there, no problem. It is with absolute certainty that as soon as it gets past September in Vancouver, it is rain, unconscionable, merciless, never-ending rain. And when I was there, I think in November there were 3 gray days, and the rest of it was either like a really, really cool and fun snowstorm where I was like sitting in my brother's house in the hot tub with a snowstorm coming down around us, or it was just like beautiful sunny. Global warming. But hey, if that's the fall, it seems pretty good, at least in the short term. Who's to say after a couple more years? But now on to what I'll do with the channel and the podcast, so you get a sense of some content schedule here. So I've almost completed, as I was trying to do it before I left, the Raylia documentary. I'm gonna polish it and polish it and polish it to, I was thinking midweek, but then I was like, no, let's just really slow play this. I barely returned. You guys are like, hey, here's Dave again. So you know that I'm active and working on this. That's going to be, I'm thinking whether it's Friday or Saturday, I'll release that documentary. And I'm proud of it. Raylia is a fascinating character. She has such insightful things to say in the process of creation. I think she would be a great inspiration for any artist, but I think especially if this could be seen by any up-and-coming, growing female artists, that they would be like, oh wow, what a role model for me to follow. Cool imagery, cool reflection. She's a really intriguing person, and just insanely lovable, which doesn't hurt either. So that's going to be coming out probably for the weekend. And then in regard to the podcast, what I'm going to do there is I'm going to do more I'm going to start to look up topics that are relevant on the world stage without trying to go too controversial. I don't want to do controversial for controversial sake, but discuss maybe a little bit more of the trending topics that interest me. So I'm still being honest to myself, but I'm doing something that might attract a little more broad appeal. But before I do that, I'm going to be very anti-appeal, but it's for my records, because it's very fresh in my head. it'll probably take me several podcasts, 1, 2, or I would say 3 at the maximum. But on those podcasts, I'm going to tell the story of my journey back to Canada and all the experiences and memorable moments that I had there, because I don't want to lose them. I really don't. I would love to be able to look back at these podcasts and be like, oh, that memory. I mean, some certainly will, no matter what you did, they never go out of my head. But I know that with this noggin here, knowledge retention is something that I need to be cognizant of. So that's what's going to happen on the podcast. That's what's happening no later than this weekend for the documentary. And then there's just heaps and heaps and heaps of filming that I've done, which is going to provide... It's going to not be Japanese, but it's going to be interesting. So for a short departure on the channel, there will be a fair amount of this BC footage. But if you haven't seen BC, maybe this is a great way for you to be introduced to it. All right, I would have put all my social media links down below. I really appreciate you tuning in and sticking with me through all of this. And I hope that you're doing well, enjoying December. I hope it's as beautiful as it is here. It's been incredible in Kyoto as well, just as much as it had been back on the island. But yeah, I hope you're doing well. Really, really cool stuff. I'm going to stop the double really. Cool stuff coming. I appreciate you. I appreciate the patrons. I should have said that at the start. You guys are amazing. Nobody stopped supporting me after the month. I was like, wow, thank you guys. You're so patient. And that's it. Really excited for this next chapter. There's a lot of hard work that I need to do in terms of not just the creative side, but making sure I can pay the bills to do the creative side. But I'm actually quite, excuse me, fired up for that as well. So here we go.